Hello and a very good day to Dr. Marlena. Today our group will be presenting on the 7 criteria of textuality. Our group member consists of 5 members, which is Nur RAIHANAH binti KABEER, Nur AMIRA ZULAIKA binti ZAMRI, which is me, Nur AINAA NATASHA binti FAZIL, SITI Nur NATASHA binti KHAIRUL AZMAN, and Nur SHAHEERAH binti SHAHIDAN. Now, without any further ado, let us move on to the introduction part of the presentation. Now, in textuality, we have 7 criteria, which is cohesion, coherence, intentionality, acceptability, situationality, informativity, and also intertextuality. So let us move on to the analysis and the finding part of the presentation. This is the article that is used for our presentation, which is stress can disrupt memory and lead to needless anxiety. Here's how. This is the first criteria of textuality, which is cohesion. And Lyles and Colho said that a word is identified as a cohesive marker if its meaning can be adequately interpreted by the listener, and the listener must search outside of that sentence for the completed meaning. For cohesion, we're going to be focusing on line 10 until 12 to explain where does cohesion exist in those sentences. So line 10 until 12 is, for instance, after burning a finger on a hot pan, a stressed individual might subsequently avoid not only hot pans, but the kitchen or cooking entirely. And the first cohesion marker that we can see in this sentence is the pronoun reference, where the pronoun a stressed individual actually refers to people in that sentence. And the second cohesion marker is under the lexical chain, which is, as you can see here, we have highlighted a few words like hot pan, hot pans, kitchen or cooking or burning, actually falls under the category of a theme or a situational context. Vocabulary, which is actually related to cooking and heat-related activities. So these words fall under the lexical chain, which proves that these words have cohesion. And the final one is the transition words. Now we have highlighted here the phrase for instance. Now for instance, usually it works as an example to add more information on a certain subject. Now for this sentence, it connects the general idea of stress leading to fear with a specific example of avoiding cooking after an injury. And the reason why we use for instance is to keep the writing smooth and also logical. And next, I'm going to pass the presentation on my teammate.
I'm SITI Nur NATASHA, matrix number 223-01076. So I'm going to talk about coherence. So coherence here means that the text sticks to a central idea and makes logical sense. So from the title to the body of the news, the ideas are all consistent and stick in developing one central idea, according to Rahma et al. So this means that for a text to make sense to us, it needs to connect with how we understand and experience the world. So instead of just relying on the obvious clues like headings or labels, it focuses on how the events or situations are described and ordered logically so that we can follow the flow of the text. It also depends on how cause and effect, which is why something happened, and the time, which is when it happens, that are used to build the story or explanations, helping us to see the bigger picture clearly. So in short, a meaningful text reflects on how we naturally think about events and their order in real life. Let's take a look at the examples of the coherence in the text. You can look at the example in line 21 to line 25 in the article. So the example is that In the beginning of the text, it says memories are packaged into groups of neurons called engrams, which are active when a memory is being formed. So here, it talks about the concept of engrams is introduced first to explain the formations of the memory. And then the focus shifts on how stress affects these engrams, which you can see on the latter lines. Stress disrupts engrams formations and focus on regions of the brain called amygdala. And the text ties to the ideas of amygdala, which maintain the smooth transitions from one concept to the next. So this ensures that the information is presented logically with ideas leading to the next.
Hi, my name is Nur and Natasha binti FAZIL, and my metric number is 22300-848. So now I will be presenting about intentionality. So here, intentionality refers to the author's goal in making the text for the reader, which means an author creates text with a purpose in mind. So as you can see here, goal here means the author's intention, whether to share a message, to influence the audience, or even to achieve a specific result through their writing. So the author plans their text to ensure readers accept and are satisfied with it, showing a strong link between intentionality and also acceptability. So here, the author needs to carefully plan their writing to make it clear and also to ensure that readers are able to understand and accept the text. So because of that, intentionality is closely linked to acceptability, because if the author's purpose is unclear, the text that is produced may not be able to connect well with the reader. Okay, now in line 15 to 16 of the article, the sentence, the result could inform the development of therapies for people with PTSD and anxiety. So this line shows the purpose of the research. The writer wants to highlight how a study can help develop treatments for people with post-traumatic disorder or PTSD and anxiety. So it shows that the writer had a clear goal when writing this text, which is to connect the research finding to a real-life problems. So this is an example of intentionality because it reflects the writer's plan to make the study relevant and meaningful for the reader. The author also ensures the audience to understand that the study is not just about memory formation in mice, but also about improving our health, improving human health. And then we are moving on to acceptability. So acceptability is about how the readers interpret and also accept the meaning of the text. So according to Newbert and Schrift 1992, for a text to be acceptable, it must follow proper grammatical and also lexical pattern. Because of course, how can we trust the content with a lot of grammatical errors, right? And then readers decide if a text is acceptable by evaluating several factors. So readers determine acceptability by evaluating their belief in the text content. So basically here, they consider whether the content seems true and reliable, which helps them to believe in the text. And then identifying what they find true, which is they focus on the part they find accurate or makes sense to them. And then they also recognize the text type, such as whether it is a news article, a story, or even a research paper, to try to understand the purpose better. And lastly, they try to figure out the writer's intention and the message they want to convey. So by assessing these aspects, readers can determine if the text is trustworthy enough or not. So here, an example of acceptability can be seen in line 17 to 19 of the article. This paper is really a tour de force, says Ruichi Shigemoto, a neuroscientist at the Institute of Science and Technology Austria in Klosterneuburg. So basically, this line helps make the text acceptable to readers because it includes positive feedback from an expert. So when Ruichi Shigemoto, a neuroscientist, described the paper as excellent, so it built trust in the research and make it seem more reliable. So as a reader myself, we often expect scientific studies to include expert opinion or reviews so that we know the information was solid. and this line meets the expectation. So by quoting an authority, the writers reassures the audience that the research is credible.
Assalamualaikum and hi Dr. Melina. My name is RAIHANAH binti KABEER and my matric number is 22306271. So today I'll be presenting the informativity and situationality from the 7 criteria of textuality. So let's begin with the informativity first. So according to Al-Azawi 2017, a text contextual boundness is indicated by its informativity. It also deals with the element of current or recent information and what readers of a text should expect. Although a text should contain all the information that readers already expect, but it is also important to ensure that there is not too much information so that the readers doesn't feel overwhelmed. In a simpler form, the new information should affect the readers beneficially. For example, for some readers, they might already know or might not know what is the content of the text and might expect that some of the contents and might not expect that some of the new information that they have received from the context. Okay, let's take a look in the line 53 to 56 as an example for the informativity. Under stress, excitatory neurons pumps the brain with a neurotransmitter known as endocannabinoid, which binds to glucocorticoid receptors on those inhibitory neurons and prevents them from releasing GABA, resulting in ledger engrams. So these lines introduces new scientific terms such as the bolder words, which is endocannabinoid, glucocorticoid receptors. These terms are the new scientific terms which many did not expected or doesn't know of these words existence, because even for the general readers as well, the most known and heard neurotransmitter are the dopamines and acetylcholine. These two terms are mostly heard in many articles or many other research. But then these endocannabinoid, glucocorticoid receptors and also the GABA, many readers might have not known this existence of the words. Moreover, the word GABA is also new for some readers who does not have any scientific background, so they just learn that maybe they have heard the word GABA, but they did not know the full name of the GABA, which is the gamma aminobutyric acid. So this is a new term for general readers who does not have much background of scientific. In addition, these information are very specific and depth because the description is very detailed and precise, because they mention the interaction between the neurotransmitter and the receptors under the stress by mentioning the words such as endocannabinoid, and the glucocorticoid. And moreover, the words like pumps, binds, and prevents also provide a clear sequence of cause and effect relationships in the brain. Hence, the specificity allows the reader to form a deeper understanding of how stress affects memory at the cellular level. Okay, next is situationality. Situationality, according to Kadim and Muhammad 2020, situationality is any text that an author creates that should be relevant to communicative events within a particular social practice context. Basically, it refers to what makes a text relevant to a circumstance or the setting and context in which it is displayed. On the other hand, situationality recognizes that a text appearance in a particular context or at a specific time will affect how readers interpret it. This also concerns to the elements that give a text relevant to an event. For instance, appropriateness. The article or the research, anything should be appropriate throughout the whole context. Situationality can be seen in the line 35 to 37. The sentence goes like, to test how the mice had stored the memories of these experiences, the researchers put the mice in a new environment and played the two tones, watching for how they responded. This sentence makes it clear that it is part of a scientific experiment. For example, by explaining a technique meant to comprehend memory storage, the goal to test how the mice had stored the memories of these experiences and the behaviors, put the mice in a new environment and played the two tones. This both sentence shows the situational relevance. Furthermore, this sentence shows alignment with the research objective because this sentence highlights the method used to answer the research questions. Hence, this situationality ensures that the readers understands the experiments and the connections to the goal to the study goal. Moreover, this sentence also helps readers to comprehend the sentence well. For instance, the bolder word, such as two tones and how they responded, is mentioned to presume that the readers has been aware of the context, where the two tones has been linked to the neutral and fearful stimuli. This somehow maintains the coherence of the text and also ensures the readers to understand the significance of the article. So that's all from me.
I'm going to talk about the last criteria, which is intertextuality. So, intertextuality is when a text refers to or builds on idea, knowledge, or findings from other texts to give content or support its content. So, writers might include references intentionally, but readers may notice other connections based on their own knowledge. So, according to Rahma et al., this creates a link between readers' background knowledge and the information that are being shared in the text. So, simply said, intertextuality involves the idea that understanding one text often depends on knowledge or the familiarity with other texts that have been encountered before. Let's take a look at the first examples of intertextuality in the article, which is referencing existing knowledge. These examples can be found in line 9 to 12, which is researchers have long known that stress or trauma can lead people to fear harmless situations. So the phrase researchers have long known shows the article is referencing to the prior studies or existing knowledge, showing that stress causing fear is not a new idea. So this connect the current study to the past research in the field of stress and trauma. It places the finding in a broader scientific context, which builds credibility. It also demonstrates how the study adds to or expands on what is already known. And finally, I will pass this to Shahira.
So the next example for intertextuality, also under the referencing existing knowledge, for example, in line 12 to 13, this kind of generalized fear is common in people with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and generalized anxiety disorder. So by mentioning PTSD and GAD, the article connects its findings to existing psychological conditions, evoking prior knowledge or studies in psychology and neuroscience. So I think like for the people, not all of us know about PTSD and GAD from existing studies in psychology and neuroscience, but you know how these two terms are actually very well known among all the people. So people might have their own knowledge about these two illnesses by their experience, or maybe based on their previous reading. So I think that's how people actually can, when they read this article, they know how to relate with their own experience. So we move on to the second part of intertextuality, which is quotation. For example, in line 17 to 18 in the article, this paper is really a tour de force, say Richie Shigemoto, a neuroscientist at the Institute of Science and Technology Austria in Kosteneuburg. So from this example, quoting expert makes this writing more trustworthy because it shows the author is using information from the knowledgeable people, and also help readers see exactly who provided the ideas. And it also makes the article feel connected to the bigger conversation in the field. So there's also another example of quotation. For example, line 51 to 53 is sort of like the velvet rope at a nightclub. It only lets certain neurons into the nightclub, say Jocelyn's. So I think from this example, the metaphor is being used because of the term velvet rope, which is the metaphorical explanation for how neurons are selected during memory formation. So, as as a general people, we all know the usage of the velvet rope, and it usually used in the place where they limit the guests, and they just allow certain guests like VVIPs to come in. So they use the velvet rope to like to show how they just they only allow certain guests to come in. So from this metaphor that's being used by the author, it actually relates complex neuroscience concepts to something culturally familiar. Lastly, for the conclusion, as we learned before, there are seven criteria of textuality. There are cohesion, coherence, intentionality, acceptability, informativity, situationality, and intertextuality. So as for the cohesion and coherence, it basically ensures logical flow, consistency, and thematic connections. Next is intentionality and acceptability. They highlight author's goals and alignment with readers' expectation. Informativity balances familiar and new information to engage with readers. And the lastly is situationality and intertextuality. So they relate content to context and build on prior knowledge. So I think that's all from us. Thank you for listening.